cockpit you're looking at wasn't designed to be comfortable. It was designed to dominate. This is the Sukhoi Su-35, Russia's most powerful non-stealth fighter, and its cockpit tells a story most Western pilots would find unsettling. No glass-heavy minimalism, no gentle automation handholding, just raw power, brutal authority, and absolute pilot responsibility. And here's the question no one asks. What happens when control matters more than convenience? Stay with me, because what's inside this cockpit explains how Russia thinks about air combat. At first glance, the Su-35 cockpit looks familiar: multi-function displays, HUD, HOTAS controls. But don't be fooled. This cockpit wasn't designed to reduce pilot workload the way Western fighters are. It was built to amplify pilot authority even at the cost of comfort. And that single design choice changes everything. Because in Russian air doctrine, the pilot isn't managed by the aircraft. The aircraft is an extension of the pilot's will. To understand this cockpit, you need to understand Sukhoi. The Su-35 is not a clean-sheet 5th-gen fighter. It's the final, most extreme evolution of the flanker lineage. Born in the Cold War, refined for modern combat. Inside the cockpit, you see that heritage everywhere. The layout prioritizes situational dominance, not pilot comfort. Large central MFDs give radar, IRST, and weapons data simultaneously, not simplified, but layered. There's less abstraction, more raw information. This cockpit assumes the pilot is elite, aggressive, and fully engaged at all times. But here's the catch. Information overload is always waiting. This is where the Su-35 cockpit divides opinion. Western cockpits are built to protect pilots from themselves. Russian cockpits expect pilots to master chaos. The Su-35 gives you incredible control over thrust vectoring, flight modes, and energy management, but it doesn't babysit you. At high angles of attack, when most jets fight the computer, the Su-35 lets the pilot push deeper. That's exhilarating and dangerous. One wrong input at the edge of the envelope can turn dominance into disaster. And in combat, stress doesn't forgive mistakes. So why design it this way? Here's the twist most people miss. The Su-35 cockpit isn't built for dogfights alone. It's built for pilot survival in denied environments. If data links fail, if AWACS goes silent, if GPS is jammed. The Su-35 pilot still fights. Manual authority, independent sensors, minimal reliance on external networks. This cockpit assumes you're alone and still expected to win. That's not outdated thinking. It's a calculated trade-off. Now the hard truth. The Su-35 cockpit gives incredible control, but demands years of training to exploit safely. Russian pilots train fewer flight hours than their NATO counterparts, so the aircraft compensates with brute capability, not procedural safety nets. Thrust vectoring becomes a crutch and a weapon. The cockpit becomes a battlefield, not a workspace. In the hands of a master, it's terrifying. In average hands, it's unforgiving. This is why the Su-35 looks unstoppable in air shows. But inconsistent in real-world combat performance, the cockpit reveals the contradiction. So what is the Su-35 cockpit really about? It's not about stealth. It's not about automation. It's about control over chaos. Where Western fighters reduce complexity through software, the Su-35 confronts complexity head-on. This cockpit reflects a belief: wars won't always be clean, connected, or controlled. And when systems fail, the pilot remains the final weapon. That belief shapes every switch, screen, and control surface inside this jet. The Sukhoi Su-35 cockpit isn't friendly. It isn't forgiving, but it is honest. It shows us how Russian designers see air combat: raw, personal, and brutal. And whether that philosophy survives the next generation of warfare, Is a question still flying unanswered? If you want the next part, comparing the Su-35 cockpit directly with Western fighters like the F-15EX or F-35, let me know. Because the differences aren't just technical, they're philosophical.